Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome back to Three Buck Theater. This is RT Recap, where if you don't know this particular series, I take a look at new movies that are coming out. I take a look at the reviewers' scores for them, and then we kind of break down the top scores, the top reviews, the snippets to see what kind of movie we're in for and what kind of film critics thought about it and everything else. And so what we have up today is one that I am genuinely looking forward to. I'm going to try to go see it this weekend if I can, and that, of course, is Drew Goddard's The Bad Times at the El Royale, which looks to me, just off the top, it looks very much like Cabin in the Woods in the way that the El Royale is crafted. There's a lot of elements of Cabin in the Woods in there, not to mention Chris Hemsworth, but I definitely want to see it because I think Drew Goddard is a fantastic director and a fantastic filmmaker and storyteller, and I love to support his work. He comes across to me as a bit darker of a Shane Black, but even Shane Black recently hasn't had that good of a role. So right now, with 61 reviews counted, it's sitting at a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not certified fresh yet, but of course it will be soon enough. Now remember, Rotten Tomatoes is not the be-all end-all of commentary or reviews. It's just an aggregate that people like to go look at. So the way I approach the series is that if you are, like you're unsure about Rotten Tomatoes, we can at least take a look at this together. Now let's take a look here at what the plot synopsis is of this film. So, Bad Time at the El Royale. 7 strangers, each with the secret to bury, meet at Lake Tahoe's El Royale, a rundown hotel with a dark past. Over the course of one fateful night, everyone will have a last shot at redemption before everything goes to hell. Jeff Bridges, Chris Hemsworth, John Hamm, Dakota Johnson, Cynthia Erivo lead an all-star cast in Bad Times at the El Royale. So part of me thinks that when they say go to hell, it's literal. It's literal, kind of like with Cabin in the Woods, it being the literal end of the world and the old gods come to rule over everything. It was interesting, but it has an all-star cast with a very good writer and director. Let's see what the critics are saying. Let's see what the top people are saying here. So Justin Chang from the LA Times says the standout is Erivo, who will be the next scene in Steve McQueen's thriller Windows, and whose performance here is revelatory in the most rewarding sense. So not much about the film itself, but basically keep an eye out for her character. Her character is I think gonna be the good one. This is like the one person who survives the night is gonna be her character. And the fact that he says her whose performance here is revelatory in the most rewarding sense means she gets a pretty kick-ass scene some point in the movie where she's gonna do something utterly badass, is how I take that. Now, Philip D. Semmelyen from Time Out says, as with Cabin in the Woods, Drew Goddard has a blast toying with genre expectations, although the payoff here is a lot less satisfying. So again, with Cabin in the Woods, the way that it was playing on the tropes of horror films, it was playing up the tropes of everything, and we know after watching the movie that it was, a secret organization that was sacrificing these people, using these tropes as a way to keep the elder gods at bay. And then the payoff of that movie was fucking amazing because of how they played it up. Here it feels like it's not going to have that kind of oomph. But then again, when this is a movie about kind of like a smoking aces in a hotel, and Lake Tahoe is kind of how I look at it. Again, that was also Lake Tahoe. And it's more of that kind of dark crime thriller thing versus, unicorns and sea creatures and the little bugs from Cloverfield making their way in. So yeah. Now, Lee Greenblatt here from Entertainment Weekly gives it a positive review, saying, mostly it's an excuse to let a bunch of talented actors loose, and then they meet in the bare bones script more than halfway. So that's okay. I mean, basically he's trying to say it's a character-driven piece, not a lot of story there. The actors have a lot of fun. They're able to play with everything and really beef up and just have fun with it, but it's not much of a story. And that's unfortunate because, something like this looks like it's going to be all story, at least based on the trailers that I've seen. Now, Mara Reinstein from US Weekly, she actually gave it a rotten score here, saying the film is clearly aiming for a funky, hyper-violent, multi-layered Pulp Fiction vibe, but it's missing an adrenaline shot to the heart. Now, I wonder, okay, so obviously referencing Pulp Fiction there, but it basically kind of feels like it's missing that oomph, that pop at the end, right? That it's not going to have a good finale, or it's not going to have a satisfying conclusion, because the way that Pulp Fiction ends obviously has a satisfying conclusion. And this one is definitely going to be fun. Again, kind of going back to the previous review, the actors are allowed to let loose and they're allowed to be fun and funky, and it's hyper violent. However, it's just missing that je ne sais quoi, right? Now, Michael O'Sullivan here from Washington Post says, part B movie send-up, part noirish hybrid of mystery and black comedy, and all original, giving it a 3 out of 4 stars. And that's, I think, kind of Drew Goddard in a nutshell, to be honest with you. He likes playing with those old themes, again, going back to Cabin in the Woods, even going back and looking at how he wrote Cloverfield, right? Again, playing up a lot of the Godzilla, the monster movie genre from the 1950s, playing into that a little bit, and having fun and still making it original. Never mind the noirish hybrid of mystery and black comedy means we're going to get a really dark story with a lot of kind of light, violent moments of levity. And I'm okay with that. In fact, I'm looking forward to that. Now, Randy Cordova here from Arizona Republic says, despite the presence of people like Jeff Bridges and John Hamm, it's the lesser names who make the strongest impressions. And in these kind of movies, again, going back to Cabin in the Woods, it was shot in 2009. None of the actors in that movie really had strong presences, but by the time it was released, we knew about Chris Hemsworth from not only Red Dawn, but Thor. And it was the other characters in there that really kind of played it up a bit, right? And again, they're relative unknowns. So maybe that's one of Drew Goddard's good qualities as a director, is to find those types of unknown talents and then give them a space to play, while also allowing other well-known actors that same opportunity. Joey Magnuson here from Hollywood News says, Goddard is having a wicked bit of fun, and even if he overstuffs his work, that stuffing is still rather tasty. So from my take on that is essentially that it keeps moving. It's always fun scene to scene, and it never really slows down. And it's always got a bit of a sly smile on the back end, because you know that he's playing with us. And that says a lot about it to me. Now, Richard Lawson here from Vanity Fair didn't like it. He says it manages to be both overwrought and underdeveloped, disappointing less for what it is than for what it could have been. Okay, so what that says to me essentially is that the plot is, and the characters are possibly underdeveloped. Like, you have a setup, right? You have a setup, but it doesn't ever really kind of get into the meat of the story. It kind of, looking at the comments before about it being hyper violent, take on Pulp Fiction, focusing more on the violence aspect of it versus trying to tell us a good story with compelling characters. That could be something where Cabin in the Woods didn't have much of that problem, because it was co-written by Joss Whedon. And of course, that's going to be compared here, as we've already seen it compared. And anyone who knows Goddard's work is going to look at his last directorial efforts as being Cabin in the Woods. Now, Leigh Patch from Herald Sun, Australia says, here is the clear-cut takeaway from the alternately intriguing and infuriating Bad Times at the El Royale. It is not here for a good time. It is here for a long time, which probably says that the movie is running a little bit long in the tooth, and it doesn't get to the point fast enough. I mean, if you watch my videos, you can probably relate to me in the same way. Ella Kemp from Culture Whisper says, Drew Goddard crafts a pulpy world of sin and suspense, exhilarating until it's suffocating. Interesting. I'm kind of taken aback by that. Okay, exhilarating until it's suffocating. Meaning, is it one of those movies that it starts ramping up the finale, ramping up the climax, getting to the third act, getting it, and then you know when it's time for it to kind of be over, when it's time for it to slow down and catch its breath for a minute, that it just doesn't do it, and then it just becomes annoying? That could be a thing there as well. Let's see, Nigel Andrews from the Financial Times giving it 2 out of 5 with a rotten review, saying an even sprawlier, messier, talkier affair. So it's long, it's kind of a mess of a script, and too much talking, not enough bang bang. It's kind of how I take that. But finally here, Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian says, it's an ingenious puzzle with phased character revelations, but this longish film finally promises a bit more than it delivers. And again, going back to the concept there of it being a talkier affair, her saying exhilarating until it's suffocating. So the way I look at that essentially is that Bad Time at the El Royale suffers from just being long. Does it give here the time? It's 140 minutes. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And not going to lie, in this environment, a 2 hour and 20 minute long movie is a bit long. It is definitely long. And it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know, man. Like, that might be a bit too much. That might be a bit a bit too long to make it enjoyable. But ultimately, it feels like it's going to be better than not. In fact, the critical consensus here is that it's smart, stylish, and packed with solid performances. It delivers pure popcorn fun with the salty tang of social subtext. So overall, it looks positive. If you like these type of violent films, these type of noirish action films, and where actors are allowed to have the fun they want to have with it, then this could be the one for you. I personally want to see it. I'm going to hope to go see it this week. I don't know if I'll be able to or not, but I'm definitely going to try. And you can look for my review over on 3Buck Reviews, which if you haven't subscribed to that, link below in the video description. If you've made it this far in the video, please let me know down in the comments by typing Royale with an E, or Royale with cheese if you prefer to make a Pulp Fiction reference, and just leave your general comments. Are you excited? Aren't you excited? And let me know why. Also, be sure to thumbs up the video, subscribe, and check back often for more content from me. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been 3Buck Theater. Have yourself a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you later.